This is brutal, as 3 games into the season, the Islanders have yet to win a game. And if their defense continues to play the way they did today, well, then it's going to be a long time until they win a game, because that was absolutely disgusting. To make it worse, the goaltending has not really been able to find a way to make a save when it is needed, and as a result, fans are a little frustrated. Now, me personally, I am not pressing the panic button, mostly because Matthew Schaefer has given us a lot to look forward to. And on this video, we're going to mostly focus on the negative with the defense, because it has been really rough. But you can't talk about the Islanders defense without Matthew Schaefer. And at this point, he is really earning a lot of minutes on this team, mostly because the rest of the defense cannot handle it, which is really concerning. While you want to see him succeed, you also don't want to throw him into a situation he's not ready for. And at this point in time, he really seems like the only defenseman who's ready for any meaningful minutes. Some of the worst defensemen so far this season have been Tony DeAngelo, Ryan Pulock, and surprisingly to me, Alexander Romanov. He's the one that, looking into this year, I was not expecting to be bad. I expected him to really struggle with Tony DeAngelo as a partner. He just does not fit the way Romanov plays, and maybe that is part of it. I think a part of this might be the systems they're playing in general, but whatever it is, Alexander Romanov had an absolutely terrible game today. He fell on the blue line, leading to an easy goal, and as we're going to talk about Sorokin a little bit later in this video, he had one goal who I definitely think he should have had. Some other ones where you'd like to see him make a big save to keep the Islanders in the game, considering he's getting paid like one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, and the way he's playing is currently not up to this standard. But for me, it's even hard to blame Sorokin at this point in the season, because the defense has had so many mess-ups that could have easily been avoided that it's just ridiculous at this point. The amount of high-danger opportunities the Islanders are giving up because their defense just makes a sloppy turnover. Romanov also had a terrible turnover in the middle of this game. Tony DeAngelo really looks lost at most points when he's on the ice. I know he had an assist in this game, a really cool goal, a really clutch goal by Pajot, but it has to get better. And my concern, especially when it comes to Tony DeAngelo, Scott Mayfield, who's also been really poor this season. I think he's getting carried a bit by Schaefer, which is crazy considering Schaefer's in his 3rd NHL game, and he already has to carry his defensive partner who has significantly more experience. Let me know in the comments which defenseman has been most concerning for you on this Islanders team so far. I will say Adam Pelech looked good tonight, and at this point I'm really wondering if perhaps it's time to really shake up the pairs. As we're going to talk about in 1 second, there are a lot of questions I have with this lineup, and I really question the way Patrick Waugh has continually tweaked the lines on offense while keeping the same 3 pairs. These pairs are not working, and while I do hate to put the lines in a blender for any part of this Islanders team, at some point a change has to be made. If it's not that, then they have to change the system or something about the way they're playing, because it is not working. You can tell Romanov is really struggling out there. Pulock looks absolutely lost, which is very concerning. We talked about this during the offseason, where there are a lot of statistics out there that say Pulock is not aging into that contract well at all. He was called, his contract was called one of the worst in the entire NHL, and a lot of you pushed back on that in the comments, and I'm really curious where you're at with Ryan Pulock at this point. Only played 16 minutes in this game. That's the least we've seen Pulock play in a long time. And looking at the way he played, he did not deserve more minutes. Looking at the time on ice for all the defensemen on the New York Islanders, Matthew Schaefer played the most. He's the only player on the defense who played over 20 minutes today, and he played 26 minutes and 35 seconds. And while he looks incredible out there and looks like he has legs to play more, you can't be relying so much on your young defensemen. Somebody else has to step up. Pelech, I will say, has looked decent. But the rest of this has been absolutely abysmal. Even though Romanov was on the ice for a couple of the Islanders' goals, negating his negative rating to have him neutral, he was just invisible on the ice, except when he was making glaring mistakes. There are so many turnovers. This is something that is getting really ugly for the New York Islanders. And really, my biggest concern about this is sometimes you can write it off as a bad week. And for Romanov, I'm really hoping that's what this is, a bad week. You got some fans on Twitter already ripping into his contract. I'm not ready to wave the white flag on Romanov. I still think there is a lot to like in his game. I really do appreciate his physicality, which we have not seen yet this season, and I wonder if that's a result of him trying to fit too much in this system. But Ryan Pulock, again, has really struggled, and it makes you begin to wonder if maybe it's a thing where these defensemen just cannot fit into Patrick Roy's system, because this is very similar to the defense that once was very effective under Barry Trotz, even pretty solid with Lane Lambert. And while a lot can be contributed to age, different factors like that, you gotta wonder if simply this system for Patrick Roy was not working. He complained last year that he wanted more puck-moving, fast defensemen. And yes, Matthew Schaefer has thrived early on. Last season, Tony DeAngelo was a lot better than he was this year. But I think it's a thing where you can't just chalk it up to a bad week, because the warning signs were all there to end the season last year. And for a big part of the season, I feel like Ilya Sorokin was bailing this defense out, which no longer is the case, at least not yet. Ilya Sorokin has struggled this season. If you look at his advanced stats, while he actually hasn't given up that many more goals than expected, simply because the Islanders are giving up so many high danger chances, he's struggling a bit. There's a couple goals going in that you would expect him to save, which is concerning. But again, I also think it's tough for a goaltender when your defense is making so many mistakes in front of you. Now, on the contrary, when you're making that type of money, you're expected to make the big saves, and he's not. But as of right now, Patrick Roy has said, I have a lot of trust in him, and I'm definitely a fan. I'm not turning on Ilya Sorokin. The reason why I'm so quick to still defend him, even though I think out of the 3 games, I think this was the worst game, I don't think the Islanders were better goaltending away from winning this game. You look at those the defensive breakdowns they've had early on. No goalie is going to win you games consistently if you're doing that, and that is something that has to be cleaned up. And I'm really curious in the comments what you think about Ilya Sorokin, because I definitely see a lot of fans who are really turning on him. I definitely have not lost trust in him. I'm really concerned to see what this team looks like with David Rittich in the net, because if this is how many goals they're giving up with Ilya Sorokin, and the amount of opportunities they're giving up while Ilya Sorokin is in the net, it's going to be even worse with Big Save Dave in the crease. We'll see when he gets his first start. I have a feeling they are going to go with Ilya Sorokin again against the Edmonton Oilers, and that's another thing. The Edmonton Oilers are one of the best offensive teams in the NHL. This is a Winnipeg lineup that, while it's very top-heavy with some talent, you got beat by their depth, and it's not a very deep team, which is really concerning when it comes to the Islanders' defense and really what this season is going to be. I want to leave this off talking about some of the lineup decisions that have been made so far. And I'm really struggling with these lines. And let me know in the comments if it's just me who does not like these lines. I feel like every game you have different lines. I know Druin was suspended, and Druin should be playing with Horvat. I think that is a pair that is going to work out. But it makes no sense to me to have Holmstrom playing with Cizikas and Siplikov. In fact, I hate that they took Holmstrom off the third line. I thought in the first 2 games of the season that Holmstrom, Pajot, Shabanov line was the best line on the team. And Holmstrom is just not a player who plays well in 4th line minutes. He's a player who needs to be creating stuff, and he was beginning to set up chemistry with Shabanov, a player who Patrick Roy has spoken about trying to give some consistency to help ease him into the game, and Lee is just really not a fit with the type of player he is. I understand the Islanders do have a lot of wings. Some players are going to have to play on the 4th line. I really don't like this lineup the way it's set up. I'm happy with Duclair. I will say, did not know what to expect from Duclair coming into the season. Was really concerned about the injury woes last season. So far, he's looked like one of the better players, and that is definitely a bright thing to look at in these early games. But so far, beyond the players, I think Shabanov had another really good game. Almost scored a goal to really push the Islanders back into this game, even if they didn't quite deserve it in terms of the defensive way they played. But it frustrates me too how much change we've seen so far with the forward core. and yet the defense is just running back the same pairs over and over again. Now, I will say it is exciting that already Schaefer has, while he's still playing with Mayfield, it seems clear that that is now the second pair for the New York Islanders, and the deployment he's getting played like the number one defenseman. We'll see what happens. At some point, maybe it makes sense to try to play him with Pulock. Clearly, Pelican Pulock is not working the way it used to. Romanov D'Angelo has been an absolute disaster. Now, I don't know if it would be better if you put Romanov with Mayfield. Maybe the answer soon is calling up a player like Isaiah George to potentially add some stability. It sounds crazy to call a rookie player to add stability to your defense core, but I think that's where the Islanders are at. Let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think of the team so far? Are you concerned? Is this kind of exciting, the direction that you wanted them to go in terms of maybe having more a rebuild season? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. I'm your host. Catch you on the next episode of Islanders Digest. Let's go Islanders.